Did we all get the Wi-Fi password? Did we all get the Wi-Fi password?
No.
Can we project that? Can we project that? There's the Wi-Fi password that we can still do when it requires that. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing. Belinda, can you hear me? Belinda, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you very well. Thank you. And you can hear us.
And you can hear us very well. And you can see us very well.
We can see you right now. We can see the presentation.
See the presentation.
There's quite an echo.
We'll try to sort that out. We'll try to sort that out. But we are glad you can hear us. But we are glad you can hear us. See the room.
Yeah, we know we're home to the room. Yeah, we know we're home to the room.
We strategically allocated us. And then we don't want you to see this.
I know we see. I know we see. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Morning.
Good morning once again. Good morning once again. Good morning once again. Good morning once again. Thank you. Thank you.
Can you hear us well?
We can hear you very well. We can hear you very well, Felinda. We will be starting now. We will be starting now.
Perfect.
Great. Perfect. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear stakeholders, my name is Lahia Hamida. I am working for the Standard Institution, and we are very happy to have you here today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I would like us to. Should we go through a program? Should we introduce ourselves? But at this point, I think let's quickly go through our and then we will introduce ourselves, and then we will for our welcoming remarks. But at this point, can you please take us through the program so that we follow together? We are done with the registration. I hope everybody signed or registered. Right? Thank you very much. We will be receiving our welcoming remarks. Mr. Haufiku, General Manager for Standard Development and Coordination, and the Acting General Manager for Certification. After that, we will start with our or the reason why we're here, the overview of the national quality policy by Mr. Haufiku and then question and answer session for very few minutes. We will then do an overview of the WTO by Ms. Lahia Mbinga and Ms. Melinda. Will do the Q&A. For that subject. And then we will have a break because it's very cold. We need to drink enough tea and coffee to keep ourselves warm. We will then, the regulatory or the good regulatory practices, what we call GRP, will be done by Ms. Linda. And then the WTO notification procedure by Ms. Lahia Mbinga, and the EPIC notification alerts Johanna Kamulugu. We will then go for lunch. After that, Mr. Ephraim will give us the Metropolis Act and the Regulation, and then a closing remark by Ms. Dina Nashidengo. We will also have a registration on EP, and the registration on EP is to have it registered right today. And that assistance will be done by so that in a nutshell program for today. Hope to make it very engaging, collaborative, and very short. So thank you. I think at this time we can start introducing ourselves. So that when we engage, we know who we are talking to, right? So let me hand over to the beautiful lady sitting next to me. Thank you, Lahia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda. I am part of the European two-year project, which is a two-year project founded last year. About 1.5 years ago. Basically, my roles and responsibilities are to ensure the implementation of the European Union project. I'm sure you will hear more about that from my colleague Anna. Alright, so just some house rules. We do have the bathroom. Once you exit the building, it's the first turn on your left. It's the first turn on your left. So the bathrooms are there. So the bathrooms are there. We will have a lunch break. And then we will have a lunch break. Outside the patio, where the tables are. As for the coffee break, we will have some sandwiches. So should you have any other questions or concerns, please just. I'm the girl.
Good morning, everyone. So I will talk about the EU It's a project that is funded by the Union, and the idea is support the capacity building for NSI, and also the relevant departments of the Ministry of Trade. We've been going about this for about 1.5 years, with different mission windows and activities and around the country. For NSI, but also raise awareness for doing in the mandate they have, hopefully around the country.
Before joining, I was asked if possible that I can quickly introduce our team online before we continue with our introduction. Linda.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Here today with you. We are live from Stockholm today. My name is and I am an expert in the expert EU Namibia I'm a legal advisor of technical barriers to trade at the National Board of Trade. And I'm very happy to be here today with my colleague. Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm going to focus on the topic of worship with the topic of worship with We're excited to hear the discussion.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Linda and Felix are implementing the component twinning project of the our colleagues, and we are happy to have that today. Thank you. Ms. Jordan, you may continue with your introduction.
My name is John, everyone. My name is John. I'm waiting for this.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. My name is Desmond. I'm an ordinary business with diverse industries.
My name is Efraim, Section Head, Legal Methodology, Section Head, representing to metrology and regulations.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. Morning, everybody. My name is Alex Mziraya, sorry, manager in insurance.
Good morning. I'm Dawes Ability Transport Inspector Division Headquarters with the
Otherwise you break out in song maybe.
I'm Stefan's Elifas Alliance Railway Bridge.
Yeah, good morning everybody. Peter Kayode, Road Transport Inspector, Road Transport Inspector, Roads Authority.
Good morning, everyone. Principal Transport Inspector, Roads Authority.
Good morning all. I'm Keesteen Johannes. Minister of Industrialization. I'm the head of the office. Karas and Adap.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, as elders. Be seated. I'm Mr. Matthias Moy, the regional manager for Southern Regions Roads Authority.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is from the Ministry of Sport, from the Ministry of Sport, Youth and Directorate Youth Development.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kirika Johnson. I am from the Namibian Grape Association based in Ausengeer.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Frida. Elizabeth from Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and under the Directorate of Industrial Development and Economics. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Representing participant on cases investments.
Good morning, everyone. Gregory Usa. Just an ordinary businessman.
Good morning, everybody. My name is just a concerned citizen about everything. There's one. It was actually very interesting to read about Namibia is not known for using anything at all. Let's listen to them. Maybe I will learn more. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. For the sake of everybody, I have to stand so that my name is Dina. I hold the position for the director in the Ministry of Industrialization. I'm heading the directorate of commerce in the because I'm the last person to introduce also share I have the responsibility. We deal with issue related to consumer protection. We deal with issue related to the liquor related to the administration. Basically, we are overseeing the issue of and then we deal with the issue of accreditation. We formulate like one of the colleagues who policies the national quality. We are the policy maker. Touch our and then on the program it is a point of correction. If each one of us can take a program, we are here for TOTWT requirement, TBT notification, procedure notification, revised methodology, revised methodology correction. It's just a point of correction. We have a methodology act number 5 to the act. So basically, that's one of the reasons we are not just one big state. We are not yet in the big state on the resident capacity. The act has already been passed. So I said, thank you.
Good morning. I am senior sport officer in the sport service and national service.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir. Now we know who we are talking to. We can address one another. So thank you very much. May I kindly please call Mr. Kampen to welcome us.
awkward when I pass the mic. Awkward when I pass the mic. I'm wondering why is he passing the next person with the next person with the being returned. So I won't be giving you the remarks. Welcome remarks. So I decided not to do so. Okay, my name is Philip Jagonia. I work for Namibian Standard Institutions. General Manager for Standard Development. I'm also EHS. General Manager. I'm also EHS in General Manager of Education Services. So we really appreciate that you are here. You made time from one of the colleagues here. Traveled all the way from Ludred, and many other places that you travel. We appreciate your presence here. This is your event. This is your event on the WTO TBT notifications, Revised Metrology Act, and the Revised Metrology Act. Most of you might not know what is this. You have key interest. TBT technical barrier to trade. What is national quality infrastructure? What is national quality? What are we talking about? What is metrology now? Many times people confuse metrology. What is that? Meteorology, the science of geology, atmospheric forecasting, weather and all those forecasting. We won't talk about today. We talk about the science of meteorology, the science of measuring this kind of fields, quantities and all those kind of fields, labeling. In this point in time, I just want to welcome you all. It will be an interactive. To ask questions. We have to ask questions. We'll be able to those that we can not able to answer. Taking them home will be and answer your question at once. We just need to get with that note, colleagues. I wish you colleagues the best. I wish you the fruitful operations and the fruitful operations and to have you here. Please, we have you here to be. Please, we request you to be here till the end of. Many times you find that people. Hours at afternoon hours. They believe in this. We request conclude our event and with that note, I want you to welcome yourself. Big round of applause. Big round.
Please don't proceed. The next presentation will actually just like to say, may we kindly just questions, jot down one presenter and one presenter opens the question, you will answer the question and then we'll answer the question. And then by this point I start people.
Alright, let's start with our presentations. I think it will be very useful. Jot down your questions. You can answer your questions and we can answer your questions in the later stages. Interact in between. Many times I lose focus when there is interaction. Pay attention to this. I want to pay attention to this and also thank you very much. Thank you very much. Alright. We are here to ensure that we provide you the information, the WTOs on the WTOs, the activity, how it facilitates the trade. So and also how it can prevent the barriers to trade. Some of you might be involved in exportations of product, manufacturing. Maybe you export it outside of it. Maybe you export it out other countries, other countries globally, fulfill the region. So with that note, you need to make sure that you understand what those people. And also adding on that, you also need to understand what are the services that you need. services ensure that your labeling of the product. We will provide you with the presentation. So more about that as you take pictures, the presentation. We provide you the presentation. We provide you the presentation. We just request your email address. Your email address. Okay. Getting to the main subject of national quality infrastructure. What is national quality infrastructure? We have heard about national quality infrastructure. Anyone knows what is national quality infrastructure? National quality infrastructure. It seems like no one. No one. We are right. Do you are aware, but you do not know what it's all about. Then you are to know what it's all about. Alright, the national quality infrastructure colleagues. Every country in the world, to do business, you need to have what you call national quality. Let me just unpack it. We call it NQI. It's a building blocks of the country. Every country must have what you call standards. We'll define what is standards. You need to have your product inspected and certified. Are we getting there? Have standards. You need to have standards. Product inspected. To get your product inspected or establishment and you get your product tested. The samples from someone have to draw the samples from your factory, from the establishment, and get your product and get your tested and certified. Okay. Now we have all this. Then we have this. Standard inspected or establishment inspected, the product inspected, your product gets certified. The metrology is here. In terms of the product need to be everything from the leveling about requirements. You have water, there are requirements. There are requirements. You can't just the way you wish. There are requirements. And there are requirements is coming from. And these requirements is coming. Let's paint the picture. It's already painted. We have standard basis. What is standard? Who knows what is standard? Leaves. Who knows what is standard? All about? Let me do it on the slow pace. Who knows what is standard? Who gets strongly confident is there outside? I know about standard is the definition. Please just come out.
When you talk about standards, you talk about a certain requirement, a certain qualification of something, one is to meet something that is up to standard, like in practical.
Yeah. You are getting there. You are getting there. Just about to pass the interview. It's a requirement. The key point is a requirement. Qualifications. Any additions on that?
Standards basically is specifications.
specification to be met is like that you need to be met. It's like you need to confirm a certain criteria, to be qualified, to classified, qualified or classified standard, high quality standard product, quality product.
Good. You just nailed it. Specification. That's the specification required. That's qualifications. That's standards.
Yeah.
Why? Okay. Why do we need standards? Why do we need standards? Okay. Okay.
To make sure that we produce quality products. Quality products. It's about the quality of the products. It's about the quality of the products.
Okay, let's do it now. Why do you need quality products? Why do you need quality
To have
products?
value for my money. To have value for my money.
Okay.
To protect the consumers also, to protect the consumers also, to make a car, it's not available. While you're very carpenters, because of
value addition, according to the supply chain, according to certain national specific product needs to meet a criteria. Also for one quality product to trade with the rest of the world.
But this side is so quiet. What is happening? Are we in the same room? This side is very cold. We have had it from the colleagues. That's standard. Yeah. So it means the chair. It does mean the chair. It does mean the bag is falling. Hence the bag is falling. Okay, colleagues. All right. You have said it all. And then you are making my life very easy because you also presenting now. I wish I could just even now leave this podium and just sit because you know. Okay, standard is basis, specification, requirement, qualifications in order to make sure that the product that you produce cannot give any harm. Harm in terms of it's a car accident. If it's a food, people shouldn't get ill because you did not produce it or you did not cook the food very well. And the person fell sick and get in the hospital, and so on. Then plus also the environment, you need to protect the environment producing your product. You have read about it, the more you pollute, the more you pay. Because there are acts that are governing the pollutions in the country, so you need to ascertain that what you are producing does not affect, for example, the water table, does not affect the animal and plants. So you need to make sure that you safeguarding all those kind of activities that you are undertaking. So you need to have standard to do so. Then once you have standard, now you implement the requirement here. When you implement the requirements, let me take you here. When you implement the requirement, there is what we call conformity assessment service provider. What is conformity assessment? To confirm, to confirmations, assessment, service provider. You do all this. You implement the standards. Then when you implement the standard, you ask for the certification bodies to come through to see to it whether you are in adherence with the requirement that you take from here for the document called standard. Now, these certification bodies, or the testing lab, or inspection bodies, or calibration bodies, will then now check. For example, let's take one product. Say you have what products can we maybe single out? Help me?
Fish and grapes.
Fish.
Those are our biggest.
All right. It's good that you have chosen the fish because I have already even the next slide. How do you know? You shared the presentation already with the audience.
No, I was
He's synchronizing with the presentation.
Oh, yeah. Let's take fish.
I was a customs officer for almost 20 years, so unfortunately, it's part of that.
It's part of that. Okay. Now you have the fish. The fish meets the standard. Now, the certification body or the inspection bodies will come to your premises, establishment. They will draw the sample from your premises. Then they get the sample tested. The metrology also will make sure that the labeling of your fish is being taken care of. You need to have the correct labeling. Then you will get from here, you will get the certificate that your product fish, the fish and fishery product, meet the requirements of the standards for it to get into the market. Okay? Now, you are the manufacturer, the product gets in the market, you need to meet these standards. You need to meet all these calibrations or metrological requirements. Then the product will enter in the market. The consumer will consume your fish. And when they consume your fish, there must be an element of food safety being taken care of so that the people will not get sick. Then we paint a picture very well. But we have forgotten to say something. There is these guys here. These guys here called accreditation bodies. They check up on these guys. To deem them competent in what they do here. There must be someone here that's overseeing. The NSI inspection body, testing body, inspection bodies, testing and calibration bodies, they are being deemed competent over the service that we offer. So that means we are internationally recognized in terms of the service that we provide, be it certification, test, inspection, standards, and so on. So we adhere to international principles. Hence, we are talking about the World Trade Organizations. Namibia has been a member of World Trade Organization since 1995. So it means we follow all the principles, all the legal text, all the obligations. We are doing that because we want your product to access the market. We want your service to access the market. Many times when we are talking about product, you only think about the tangible product, product that you can feel. But product can also be service here. Yeah. We put service because many times when you just see product, people think, okay, just service. Yeah, we put service in the So this is the picture. Now there is something that I did not mention when it comes to the technical regulations. I've said already the national standard bodies develop the standards. Now there is what we call technical regulations, and there is also these regulatory authorities. Regulatory authorities make sure that there is a law, which is regulations. But the standard body makes sure there is technical requirements, which is in the standard. Let me repeat myself there. These guys, they make sure that there is law, which is regulations. These guys, they make sure that there is technical requirements. Now, this guy and these guys, they combine and they come up with a document called technical regulations. There's a technicality that or technical requirement that came from here. The law will say, okay, for those that works for the traffic, police enforcers, in 2014-2015, you have heard about the case that was going on that has to do with breathalyzers and speed cameras. And unfortunately, the enforcement lost the case. Who knows about that case? Well, you know from there, so. Who else knows about that? All right. There was a case that was, in the court of law that the police made use of South African standards instead of Namibian standards. They reference the South African standard in our law here. These regulators, reference in their law the standard from South Africa. It's not practical possible at all. It's not allowed. So when they get to the court, I do not know how to call them. Is it the judge or whoever at the court? They go through it and say, no. You can see here that there is a South African standard in the law. South Africa is a sovereign, the jurisdictions in terms of the laws. So it's unfortunate you were supposed to get standard from MSI. This standard that you have here in your law must be adopted by this body called Namibian standards. So they brought the standard to us because they lost the case. Then we domesticated or we adopted the standards, this Namibian standard. Only Namibian standards can be referenced in the regulatory authorities' laws. Then once we reference this standard in the laws, it became technical regulations. Then from there, now when you are driving your car and you happen to put up with the traffic, you know what I mean? The fines and all these kind of things, they stop you and ask you, they tell you, okay, you're driving at the speed of 160. I know Ephraim, you will assist me when you are going to present. So how do you calculate those speeds and all those things? I'm not from the metrology, it's the science of measurements here. So now, my dear fellow Namibians, if at one point you approached the traffic officers and stopped you, there's no excuse whatsoever. The law is in place now as we are talking. And if you look at those speed cameras, you will see our sticker there, Namibian standard institutions. They also have the certificate from us. I wish you were not here, otherwise I could tell them some of the secret, but I do not want to be taken to task. Yes, but make sure that as a traffic officer, you must make sure that you have those certificates with you from NSI. This is a requirement by the law. That's how it is. So we equally, as it's just an old now Namibian, we all have rights to ask for that certificate. And that's the secret that I'm telling you, but I'm not going to go further on that. But there was a case regarding that. I'm just trying to be practical so that you understand that only Namibian standard must be referenced here. So that's the picture. Do we have an understanding now at this point in time?
Yes, sir.
You do have. Who can repeat after what I have said? That's love. Who can say, at least I know what is NQI? You know, we are I'm transferring the knowledge to you. Are you not willing to transfer it further again? Who can say it? Well, how do you understand this picture that we have painted so far? Who can connect standard and so and so and so? Colleagues?
All of us.
All of us. Get disappointed. People confidently say that they understand. Later, they do not want to say anything. Yes, thank you.
Yes, my understanding here is that we are talking about the national what is it? Quality in infrastructure. Now, we have been depending on SABS. Yeah. And now comes in NSI, meaning that we now have a body that is responsible for the standards of all products in Namibia before it can be consumed or before it can be used, like in reference to the breathalyzers that you have been referring to. So my understanding is there is now, as you said, there is a law, and this law is being regulated by the regulatory body, which I understand is the NSI.
Good, but I just want to make a slightly, just a slight one on whether NSI is the regulator. The standard body is there now, which is equivalent to SABS, South African Bureau of Standards. That's correct. I give you 95 or 100%. Let me give you 110%. Right. Then I will now deduct 10% so that you can remain with your 100%. NSI is not a regulatory body, but we can seek for the permission from these guys. Be it, for example, the Ministry of Trade is the regulatory body for processed products. Let me be practical. For example, the cement that's being manufactured here in the country by Orongo and Wayrock, Chita. This guy, they manufacture those cements. Now, who is regulator for those cements? Is the Ministry of Trade and Industrial Relations. NSI now seek for permissions because we have capacity in terms of technical expertise. I have the guys that can do the inspections. I have chemical engineers that can able to do the inspection at Wayrock and Orongo. Now we seek the permission from the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, as a regulatory authority, to grant us a permission to become an inspector. To be able to go to the manufacturers, which is Orongo and Chita, to be able to offer the service in terms of taking the sample from the facility here and get this sample tested and get them certified. So there are many regulators in the country. Be it Namibian Agronomic Board, for example. Meat Board is the regulator. Ministry of Mines and Energy, Ministry of Environment. And so those are the policy makers, those are the regulators. And within those ministries, you find that there are commodities that are being assigned to different agencies. For example, in the Ministry of Agriculture, you have Namibian Agronomic Board that deals with crops-related products. And there is Meat Board that deals with meat, raw meat, and so on. So we only became regulator once we are being given or granted that permission from the ministries or from the agencies. This is when we became. For example, the fishery product, we have inspectors in Walvis Bay and Lutrate that does the inspection on all the fishing facilities and so on. These guys we are being granted that permissions by the Ministry of Trade, dotted lines, Ministry of Fisheries, to be able to get that mandate and be able to go and execute our duty in terms of the fish and fishery product establishment and inspections and so on. Having said that, that's how we do it. I think that is sufficient. Let me just proceed to the next slide. All right, I've already shed more light when it comes to the national quality infrastructures. National quality infrastructure fall under this policy. The national quality aspect, colleagues, is not the responsibility of Namibian standard institutions. I'm trying to link that to my colleagues when he said, we are the regulator. It's a perception. Many times when you hear about standards, you forget that you also have you equally have your responsibility to make sure that the quality aspect in the country is being taken care of in a collective manner. So, but many times when the people hear about the standard, they just say, NSI, why don't you regulate so products that are coming to this country? There are a lot of non-compliance products that are coming from, do you know where they are coming from? Eh? Substandard. Substandard products that are coming in from I'm not going to mention it, but you know where they are coming from. All right. So now you always ask us, for frequent question that we receive is, why don't you NSI go and regulate these products that are coming in? They are sort of substandards. And our market is being flooded with these substandard products. You don't have control over it. Hence I said, we are not in the business of regulatory functions, unless otherwise we are mandated. So, MQP is not a single governing organ like NSI. Is not the only responsible for this. It goes to any ministry, agents, private sectors, and so on. So NSI, we only play a role of facilitating the process. And this is what we are doing now as I'm standing here. We are just facilitating. You as business owners, ministries, ministry agencies, you need to make sure that this is across all of us. We only do the facilitations to make sure that there is an implementation of standard-related activities and making sure that we facilitate the implementations of technical regulation or regulatory framework. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
I don't want to talk like a pastor, preacher. When the preacher is talking, we don't we just talk. So people are nodding. Yes, pastor. So that's the role that we play in the whole process of national quality policy. And you have heard from my colleagues that they are the policy maker. The Ministry of Industrialization and Trade is the one that made sure that we have this document in place. It's a country. All right. My brother, you mentioned that you were looking with this fish activities, fishing processes, and so on. For this picture depicts the supply chain across the business. Say, for example, you have the factory establishment for fishing, fish and fishery products that you are producing in the factory. So you need to make sure that you adhere to standards. Adhere to standards. So when you are having your input, be it your fish and say fish and product, they must meet the standard. Because garbage in, garbage out. Is that correct? Whatever you put in, if your input is non-compliant, not meeting the requirement, not meeting the qualifications, not meeting the specifications, what will come out is garbage. So you make sure that in the process, throughout your process, supply chain, you will meet the standards. so that when the consumer will put the fish on the table, they eat fish that is not contaminated with bacteria, chemicals, to avoid sickness, to avoid illness. So what do we do to make sure that here, in the year, all is fine here, up to here, even here, in the vessel, make sure that we catch the fish that meet the standard. Okay? Because, mind you, there is sizes also even of the fish that you need to catch. Sizes is also standard that you need to meet. So now what do we do all here? We make sure that we do the inspections here, throughout the year. We do the inspection, we pull the samples. We need to make sure the temperature here is correct. We also make sure that the pollution here also is taken care of. We make sure that the fish that will come here, when we take the sample from the inspection process, be it at vessel, processing and packaging, we get those samples tested. The metrology will also check the level. Okay, I see. Yeah, she's standing with me. Yeah. Alright, that's fine. Because when I make this easy, I will make it easy for you. And when we are going to present, I will just go fast. Yeah, now, if you do all this, then the product will be certified. Then here there will be no problem when you are consuming the product. You see, I am done. Colleagues, I am done with my presentation. Okay. So, can we perhaps have a question now, then before she starts with her presentation?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My comment and question at the same time. First of all, let me start with the remark. Thank you for the good presentation, well informative and practical. I just want to share with the colleague, the Namibian Standard Institution is the baby of the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade. They are saying the ministry is a regulator. Yes, we are regulating to ensure that the industrial activities that are being carried out in Namibia are in compliance with any other law. What I want the colleague to present or to further explain, he is our expert in the issue of quality infrastructure, is just to further explain how the product and services have to meet the standards, because at the time we are only focusing on to ensure that the product meets standards. However, there is a component of service which is also supposed to meet standards. A classical example that you have given us is the issue of that thing used by the law enforcer, the breathalyzer. Is that a product or is it the service that the law enforcement have to ensure that it meets the standard? Because the national quality policy is focusing on both safety and health of the animal, the people, and the environment to ensure that both goods and services comply. Maybe you can just further explain there. How do we ensure that services also meet standards? Give us a practical example.
All right, the practical example I have given is the service that is being offered by the law enforcers. That's a service. All right, the other practical example I can give you is quality. You might have heard about the quality management system, ISO 9001. It's a standard that deals with our customer satisfactions. And it's a generic standard that can be implemented by any organization on this earth. So the purpose of that standard is to ensure that you address the issue that has to do with customers' satisfactions. You need to make sure that the customers are satisfied with your service that you are providing. So be it training, be it traffic, be it anything that you do in terms of the services, you need to have certain requirements. For example, you draw that from the quality management system standard like ISO 9001. So we do have those that are offering the services, and we have standards for that. Does that give you a peace of mind?
Yes. It gives me a peace of mind. Another classical example maybe that we share with the house. COVID has, especially we have seen the mushrooming of, what is this, lab, ne? These are the type of services that we are talking about. But someone somewhere in the process was supposed to ensure that all this lab, ne? Mr. How people come in with the clinical.
Yes,
yes. In your process there, how do they fit in?
Alright, if I get your question correctly, with COVID, when not the world, we developed the standard, or we adopted the standards. I adopted the standards within 1 week. I made sure that the standards. Now, equally, we made sure the regulators, we seek for the permission from our line ministry, which is Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, so that we can have the technical regulations to be able to regulate products that are being manufactured in the country and products that are sanitizers that are moving from other countries to Namibia. To ascertain that the technical requirements in terms of the alcohol contents being taken care of, to be able to cap the virus. So the lab that has been doing the testing of this product, for example, the Minister of Health is the one that was doing the testing of the sanitizer. We made sure that the product being tested and certified by us, the certification bodies. So there is product that goes through the process, and there is services that need to go through the process, but there must be some requirement that product or services need to meet for it to be deemed, qualified to be used. So the service, like for example, when we are here, you already, just be practical, when we are here, you're already feeling, okay, this environment where we are now, this room, is it really meeting the requirements? You set your criteria. You say, it's meeting the requirement. It's enough space, it's clean, the tea is there, people that are providing us with the service, they are caring about us when we are here. And the people that will come in here again, they will also be served the same way. That's to meet those standards. That's how it is. Okay?
Okay, in terms of service,
yes, thank you. My understanding in terms of providing services that conform to the standard has to do with the liability that comes with a provider to the consumer. Are you really doing what you promised to do? And at the end of the day, the legal liabilities that would come if the service provider doesn't really provide the service that is quality to a customer, in terms of now a lawyer or for example a doctor, because the responsibility of a doctor is to provide and keep the customer's information confidential. And at the end of the day, he didn't do what he was supposed to do, or during the process of attending to that specific patient, he neglect, or should I say, excuse me, can you? Omitted, yes, and commit some errors in the provision of that medical services. So all those factors plays on hand. That's how I understand when it comes to the standard of service provision.
Yes, you said it all, but let me also expound it a bit. Here, the applications of standards, something that I did not mention during our presentations. Applications of these Namibian standards is voluntary basis. To apply the standard is based on your wish. But once we have laws, for example, you mentioned about the doctors, there are now health-related issues there that need to be taken care of, because if they don't take care of those health-related issues, then obviously they will be taken to task, because there are certain requirements of standard that are being put in their laws. Then it became a regulated aspect. So anything that's being regulated, there are laws that are regulating certain services. So it must be taken care of as such. For example, the Environment Act is a law. You make sure that when you pollute, you pay. And you can be taken to task. At the same time, you pay the fine, and you will be taken to task because you will be affecting or negatively affecting the plant and animal and the human health because of the pollution that you are causing. So that must be taken care of. There are laws, there's an interlinks of laws and standards comes in. But the application of standard is voluntary, but once the standard is being referenced in the law, it becomes mandatory. So that's how it should be.
I don't know, rather, I think she basically taking my question. I also wanted to understand, especially on the service sector, and I want to look into specific to the education sector. There are certain borders who actually regulates the standards, like the Namibian Qualification Authority. Now, how does your responsibility speaks to that? Is there a linkage? Is there, because that is what you are doing is a national quality standard. You should, whatever they regulate should speak to the national, in the national context. So how do you came in to really, because there are so much outcry regards to education, health sector, environment sector, and so forth. And you said it depends from organization or whoever body to apply to be standardized. So for some it's open, they can do what they like to do, but for some sectors, like in the business sector, they should be regulated.
All right. No, I got your questions. I got your questions. I don't think I need to use the mic because I'm in the middle now. Oh, there is colleagues online. I'm forced to use it. All right. Well, we can propose to you as a training facilities to say, all right, there are social standards that you can implement or you can make use of. You choose from that list. And we have done it before. We will continuously just engage with stakeholders to propose to them a standard that they can use for their services, for example, educations. For example, NQI or NQA. So we have already had some engagement with them. We even proposed some standard that we can make use of. We even offer the training to them, the standard that I mentioned on the quality management system for customer services, for customer satisfactions. Hence, colleagues, you have a right. If you find that the institution of whatever nature is offering the service, and you feel the service that you are getting there is not really conforming to any standard that you can think of, you can come through to NSI. You are the customer for those guys, then you have a right to come through and say, guys, there is a need to have standards here. You can even suggest to them, because they have also what we call, they evaluate themselves. They even ask you sometimes to give the feedback on their services. Give the fair, feedback to them so that they can improve. They can only improve if they make use of standard. So you equally have rights. Here's the reason I'm saying the implementations of national quality policy is in our hands in totality as a country. It's entirely to us. But we need to do justice to it. So you can tell them, any company that you get there, and even here, when we are here, and you see things are not in order, you say, why don't you do this and that? Perhaps you need to meet this and that standards, if you are aware of. Then you can even ask when you are here, you say, okay, NSI, what do you find that need to be, improved here? Standards, at the end of the day. You have a question?
Yes. Sorry, the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we'll move next.
Three more questions, and then we will move on to the next. So it's 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Sir, I want to know, why are we not having NSI agents on the borders? How are we regulating those imports of products? Why is customs not here? Because it's interesting, they're supposed to be here. The last question, when I'm referring to the grape industry,
let me hear you very well. You said why NSI is not at the border, yes, and why the customs officials they are not here.
Yes. All right. The grapes are seasonal, but at the end of the year, when we're exporting grapes, the Namibian transporters are subjected to a lot of requirements. They need to be on the labor system, they need to be registered from Transnet, they need to have GIT insurance, all those whole things. They need to be inducted to enter the ports of South Africa. My question is, are we also having the same type of standards for importers that make use of our ports? Because it's very difficult registering on this or to comply with these requirements of South Africa.
Okay, let me just start with why NSI is not at the border. When it comes to the regulated product quality, for example, the cements, sanitizers, any product that are being regulated, there is no preferential treatment for the products that are being manufactured here and those that are coming in. Because if we give a preferential treatment to any product that are coming in and we discriminate those that are being produced here, we are in the violations of the WTO requirements or obligations. So we need to make sure that there is that arrangement in place. So with cement, for example, in sanitizer, we have the arrangement with port of entries. When the cement is coming in the country, it's equally obligated to meet the requirements that we set by the regulatory authority. These requirements here, it must be adhered to. There is no preferential. There is no preferential treatment subjected to those products. So, but now I'm talking about the product that we regulate as a regulator. Other regulators, be it maybe electrical appliances, when the products are moving in, those appliances are subjected to certain requirements. At the border there, they must do something. That's how it should be done. I think that's the first question I'm answering. NSI, we already have built engagement with the customs officials, and we have documentations as well. They know how to use them because they have been trained on how to make use of them. Secondly, why customs officials are not here? That's a good question. Are we sure that we are not here? They are not. I'm just confirming before I answer. Did we make sure that we have maybe invited them? Customs? Oh, yes. They were not? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because every decision is being made in one system.
It might be oversight. Yeah, it might be an oversight. If be it as it may, so we sincerely apologize for that. It's the Port of Entry's officials are not here, but we can always engage with them. Yeah, but most of them they have been on the other workshops like Shakati, Tima, Valdes Bay, Windhoek, and so on. Because this is not the first. I think this is the last engagement that we have now within this project. So, and the other one is more of grapes that we export. And they are subjected to many requirements. I do not know, it's a little bit vague when you say many requirements. Because the requirements is because when you are exporting your product also, they ask you to do it to meet a certain requirement. For example, the fish and fish product. Before we export, or in the process of exporting those fish and fish products, there are many requirements. And then you know why the meat from the northern part of Namibia is not going to Europe. There's a reason. It's a reason because if you take the meat there to Europe, it's a political talks around the table, but I'm not going to entertain it further. But there are requirements where you are sending your product, they expect you to meet certain requirements. Otherwise, there's no business with those guys. That's how it is. It's the market. It's the market where you are selling. There are requirements that need to be met by the manufacturer or the users. It's unfortunate you have to do it. Unless otherwise, you are saying we need to improve. But we are in the process of improving. Because Africa that we want to make sure we harmonize standards. We harmonize what we call conformity assessment procedures so that we have one standard, one test, one certificate. If we can do it regionally in Africa, then we can now move globally. Many times we want to go globally, but we do not clean inside of our Africa. One standard, one test, one certificate fits all. That's what you call continental free trade. That's what is expected. For the product to flow without any technical barrier to trade, within the continent and outside of the continent. Because we'll be having one voice from Africa, as opposed to have one voice from Namibia. Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Second last question.
Sorry, on that one, the free trade agreement. You know, how does you facilitate that process in terms of the national quality assurance?
We have all these building blocks, standard, certification, testing, inspections, metrology. All those are the services that we are providing. If we pour this bottle of water, it must meet the standards, Namibian standards.
In terms of the regional context.
Okay. In terms of regional, I was just coming there. In terms of the regional one, for example, the standard that we developed or we adopt, it must be a regional standard. Regional standard, we need to harmonize regional standard to make sure that the product will flow without any issue. We need to harmonize the testing. We need to harmonize the inspections. We need to harmonize the metrological services that we are offering. At the end of the day, once we harmonize the building blocks of the national quality infrastructures, then the product will flow without any issue, because we harmonize all the requirements from regions, not within.
Is it done? Is it done now, right now?
Yeah, we are doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, in the process of standard development from my department, we harmonize the regional standards from the body called ARSO. Yes. Yeah, we are doing it.
Okay, yeah, mine was on the service sector. As you said, once you provide a service, the person on the other side must have the peace of mind that what I expected, I received. If I can take a scenario that I experienced personally with one of the institutions where I'm currently doing a course. This course is equivalent to grade 12, and then I asked, is it necessary for me to again do grade 12 on a higher institution whilst I already passed grade 12 a few years back? Because when I have to apply for a diploma, for example, at UNAM, they require NQF 5 to be admitted for a diploma course. So when I was referred to NQA, NQA will tell me the same thing. If you are doing an NQF level 4 course, it's equivalent to grade 12. But the requirement for that specific course for NQF level 4 is grade 12. I mean, where do you draw the line? Because when I aspire to apply at this institution, I need to be, a little bit kind of gaining a qualification, but in this case it's not, which I think that the standards are not met for me as a student. So how can we really also check into these things when it comes to service? And I think education is a very critical thing. I can't refer or go back to grade 12, which I already finished. I need to, continue for the next level of education.
Okay, I understood you very well. That's criteria that's been set, and there are regulators that have a responsibility to ensure that what you are saying or what you are demanding must meet a certain requirement, which is standard. So I wouldn't be in a good position to fully maybe answer your question, but I will try partially. What is needed there is to validate with the regulators whether what you have said now or what they are trying to do meeting the certain criteria, which is standards that they set. But we have, as I have suggested or alluded earlier, we have proposed to those institutions proposed standards that can make use that they can make use of, so that they can improve the curriculum developments and so on. So that at least there must be some, cohesions.
Yeah.
There must be a good arrangement there, so that the people will not be pressed hard. But it's your responsibility also to improve the quality infrastructure of the country through conducting those guys and also benchmarking with other countries, other institutions of the same nature to see to it that is in order. So you need to come out also. Because many times when things are going well, we only think that someone must solve it for us. But it's our responsibility also to come on board and say, I feel here there is unfairness on this subject matter. Why don't you do this and that? Because others in the other countries are doing this way. Why don't you improve?
Yeah. Because I think the other one is also, like you take one subject, it is divided into two parts, A and B. But for you to experience in the second semester that 50-60% of the work you've done already in the first semester is again repeated in the second semester. The information they got about that specific module was not really enough for them to, leave it as such in the first semester and maybe bring in another module in the second semester. So that is.
Okay, do you have a center that you perhaps can able to get to them and ask them all these questions? So do we have a center of NQA here?
No.
We don't have it?
Only in Bandung.
Only in Bandung. All right. I think we can approach, I think the best route is to approach NQA and our Minister of Education. I think the Ministry of Education will be in a position to redirect us to the right agencies that can address this issue. I know it's really a pending issue, but I will not really be in a position of answering that question effectively. Hence, I can refer you to the Ministry of Education to see to it how can we address that. It's not it's a disturbing concern. It is indeed. But we'll talk during the breaks also.
All right.
Yes. Thank you very much. We are now on the last question. Sir?
Thank you very much. Mr. Ofikun, I have a fundamental question here. I confirm that the understanding is not the cattle authority. What I want to confirm is we used to receive numbers of tires from outside the countries. What I want to confirm are goods possible to liberate those tires to certify the quality of those tires. We have a number of tires in the Victorias and the street. We can meet this standard and it's possible to certify this standard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dina, would you like to assist me on the tires?
First, you have to start now and assist you. Perhaps what I want us to explain is, let me say you have a group of entrepreneurs in this mighty Paris region. Assuming I have heard that we have a lot of farmers that are farming with grapes and dates. Now there will be a group of them, I can say 100 of them, entrepreneurs at whatever level they are. And they want to add value to the grapes and the dates. Let me say they want to make juice out of that one. Which process or procedure do they have to follow to ensure that their product complies to whatever until they are shelved in Pick and Pay, ShopRite, and so forth, related to what you've presented here? And then what I want to, that's the question for you, Seth, with the rest of the team, because we really have to bring it down to ourselves. Because the colleague there presented that when we are exporting, there is a number of compliance that we have to adhere to. Perhaps let's bring it down to where we have a group of entrepreneurs here and they are adding value to the dates and the grapes, making use out of that one, and it's procedure they have to follow related to what we have presented here until their product are shelved or exported. That's the question. And then what I want to also share is that we have a sector regulated. The issue of education, we have the Ministry of Higher Education. That's already a regulator on its own. And then we have the Namibia Training Authority, where it's regulating all the institution of higher learning and what's it called? Yes, they are regulated there. And then we have the Namibia Qualification Authority. If I want to set up a particular institution, there are guidelines that I have to follow to ensure that whatever qualification I'm going to offer, it meets those particular standards set by that qualification authority. That's why we see a number of times when you go abroad and study, when you come back here, your qualification is subject to evaluation to ensure that it complies to the set standard under the particular under the education sector. The issue of tires, start my brother and then I'll jump in. It's falling under the Ministry of Work and Transport. However, a sector have to approach NSI because it's not NSI to drive the standard. Standards are not supply driven. They are demand driven. There must be somebody to demand from the standard because NSI is not doing business. They cannot set standards. Somebody has to identify the need of that particular standard and then the technical person can go in. Sorry if I have gone beyond.
You already even answered. That's the basic that I had also to attend to the question, but just to expound the answer. Well, when it comes to the tires, it's a burning issue that we frequently receive queries pertaining the tires. And I know, Shirley, last year you have made some effort to propose standards for tires. We don't develop the standard for second-hand goods. It's unfortunate. We don't do that. You cannot come to my office and tell me, I have this second-hand clothes. Please, see to it if it meets standards. Colleagues, you see, even when you go to those guys that are selling the tires, the second-hand tires, they inspect the tires using the check. You even go there and check whether how do you call it? The truck? Yes, whether it's fine. Just by using your eyes. That's the inspection that we do. We don't do that. We are professional. We need to make sure that we only set standard for new items or goods. Otherwise, it's prescriptive. If we happen to do that, then standards are there to perform certain requirements. Standards are based on performance. That tires, if it's a second tires, we will not be able to say that it will perform or not. Then we are putting the NSI in awkward positions and will be taken to task if we qualify the second-hand goods. Be it tires, be anything that you can think of. We don't deal with those things. So it's your responsibility to come through to NSI to say we need to have standards for new tires only. Anything that is second-hand is out of our hands. We don't deal with second-hand goods. It's unfortunate. We don't. But there are regulators that are responsible for that. Ministry of Works and Transport. Those are the regulators that make sure, how they are going to do it. We will support them with standards for new tires. But should they want to take the route of make use of any specifications regarding the tires, any specification that is out of our mandate, it will be their business. It's unfortunate. We cannot develop standards for secondary tires.
Thank you, Mr. Doctor.
They used to come expire upon arrival of next time, 5 days later.
Yeah, something must be done, colleagues, because those are we need to protect the consumers of those tires in terms of the safety. The mortality might go higher because of that. If you go in Europe, you might have learned that there are tires for winter and summer.
Snow.
Yeah, snow, yeah. Yeah, I learned it from Sweden. That during the time of winter, you need to, snow, you need to go and replace your tires. Otherwise, you'll be taken to task. It's the law. So we do not know whether those tires that are coming in Namibia, whether it's winter tires, summer tires, snow tires, I do not know. So we are at risk. And it's your responsibility, as you have alluded now, it's your responsibility to take it up very aggressively. We need to be very serious about these things that affect our welfare. We should not take it very lighter.
The very last question was from Ms. Dina on how the grape, for example, access the Pick n Pay ShopRite, the retail shops.
Yeah, I think it's more of taking the SMEs through the process to get the product to the market. Okay, good. Frequently we receive queries on the NSI say, okay, NSI is, can you assist us to get our product, be it a gem, processed, agro-processed product, be it a gem, peanuts. We want this product to get in the market. First of all, what we did is to make sure that there is what we call good manufacturing practices. We put the basics on the ground. We said, okay, these are the minimum requirements that you can make use of because you are still coming up. This standard might be heavier for you. Make use of this foundation first, then you build on that as you are growing. We have a standard for good manufacturing practices. We have even the inspection or certifications for the SMEs, those that meet the basic standards. Now we are taking you through, there must be standards, then there must be you meeting the standards. Then we come and certify you. For example, Oshikundu, we are about to certify one of the, should I say it's a brewing company? Yes. Who is in the process of producing the Oshikundu, somewhere in Odako, Shakati. So they took up that opportunity to implement the standard, the basic standard, and get them certified. So we take you through, you need to meet those standards. Be it cosmetics. If you are in the cosmetics, still there are standards for cosmetics. We are in the process of also putting the certification scheme for cosmetics. So the onus is lie upon you to come forward and tell us what do you need. What do you need? What help can we offer? What assistance can we offer? We offer the training, obviously at cost, reasonable cost. We offer the training on standard-related requirements. Be it the one that I mentioned, the basic standard, the advanced standard, specialized standard. We offer those training. So what we need from you is just to come on board and say, these are the standards that I need to be trained on, so that when you are going to implement those standards, you implement it with easiness, as opposed to struggling to implement it because you understand the requirements and you can able to implement it effectively and practically. Okay. I think, colleagues, without dwelling too much on this subject matter, this is not only my talks of the day. There are other colleagues that also need to continue with their presentations, but we can engage during their lunch and break. I might have even consumed the break time.
You did.
Oh, sorry for that. My sincere apologies. Okay, clap it for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Africa. Thank you very much. Linda, are you still online?
We are still here with you. You're having a lot of interesting discussions we can hear.
Thank you. It's actually your slide now, Belinda.
Yeah.
Can you see that, or should we share it from our side?
I'm sharing it from my side now. I hope you can see the old picture here that I've started to share. And you've been talking a lot about trade already, But I just want to come in and give you a bit of a context to why we have these kind of discussions today. And this is because trade has changed a lot. When we talk about the old trade picture, we usually talk about something called linear trade, where a product is entirely made in one country and then it's exported to another country for sale there. This is, however, not how trade looks today. We have a lot more complex value chains than we had previously. And here we have, as an example, a Boeing Dreamliner airplane. It's usually said to be made in America, but it's actually constructed of parts all over the globe, and it has production sites all around the world. And this kind of trade picture is actually also applicable on other types of goods. If we take a Namibian product such as marula oil, it is something that can be used in, for example, cosmetics that is made in Europe or in the UK, and then that product is sold all over the globe in its turn. So this creates a sort of more scattered and complex trade picture than this linear one that I showed you previously. And this is where technical barriers to trade becomes so important, and why we need technical regulations, why we need standards, and why we need conformity assessment procedures, and why we need this national quality infrastructure that Jaconia has been talking about. So now you're going to hear Ms. Lachia tell you a little bit more about how the TBT agreement works and how it assists in managing this pretty complex trade picture. Thank you.
Thank you, Felinda.
Thank you, Felinda.
Thank you, Felinda.
Thank you so much, Lachia. Over to you. We'll take questions at the end of your presentation.
We will.
Technology.
All right, colleagues. Felinda has spoken about that you'll be hearing more on the TBT agreement from you. So now let's start on the overview of the TBT agreement. What is the WTO TBT agreement? Mr. Afiku this morning spoke about that Namibia became a member of the WTO in 1995. So if Namibia became a member of the WTO in 1995, now what is the TBT agreement? And it says that the TBT agreement is binding on all members of the World Trade Organization, WTO, and it shares so many of its fundamental principles with other WTO agreements, such as non-discrimination, promoting predictability of access to markets. So basically the TBT agreement aims to ensure that technical regulations, standards, conformity assessment procedures are non-discriminatory and do not create unnecessary obstacles to trade. That basically means that as a member of the WTO TBT, you are obligated to ensure that there is transparency within your dealings within trade, that you will notify other WTO members on your technical regulation, on your standards, and on your conformity assessment procedures. And we are going to briefly explain later on what is technical regulation, what is the standard, and what is the conformity assessment procedures. But Mr. Alfico also just mentioned or gave us a description of those three. So it is very important as part of the TBT agreement, and you are required as a country that you notify, there's a transparency provision that you notify on all your technical regulation, your standards, and your conformity assessment procedures that is non-discriminatory and that it does not create unnecessary obstacles to trade. Now, what are the objectives of the TBT agreement? We spoke about transparency, we spoke about non-discrimination. That would actually lead to facilitate global trade, right? And that the TBT agreement allows for regulatory autonomy to fulfill its legitimate objectives, and that it protects the life or health of humans, plants, and animals, and that it promotes the use of international trade, and that is avoid unnecessary obstacles to trade. These are all the objectives of the TBT agreement. Now, what does the TBT agreement covers? We said the TBT agreement covers all products from both agricultural products and industrial products. So all these products, it can be bars, shoes, water, sweets, basically all agricultural and industrial products are covered by this TBT agreement that Namibia is party to. And this agreement ensures that there is no discrimination and there is no alleviation of technical barriers to trade. That you are able to trade fully and that it facilitates trade. That you are aware of other countries' technical regulations, that you are aware of other countries' standards and conformity assessment procedures, and you are able to provide your inputs in those standards, technical regulation, and conformity assessment procedures. Because it's only when you know what your trading partner wants that you are able to trade with them, right? So this agreement is there for them to ensure that as an exporter, as an importer, as a manufacturer, as a producer, you are aware of those requirements. Now, we are talking about standards, we are talking about technical regulations, we are talking about conformity assessment procedures. What are these terminologies? What are they all about? Mr. Figu this morning actually gave us a snapshot of what is the technical regulation, what is the standard, and what is the conformity assessment. So for now, I think for us it's just to expand it, right? So now basically a standard is a document which is approved by a recognized body. And then we also say that Namibia's national standard body is NSI, right? So this document should be approved by the NSI if it's a Namibian standard. Now, what is this document we're talking about? So this document sets out the rules, the guidelines, or the characteristic for a product or related processes, production methods. As we spoke about national regulation, which is mandatory. Now, what is the technical regulation? So basically, technical regulation defines, now we say it defines the product characteristic, right? And Mr. Afiku this morning also spoke about that you need a standard that you refer in the law and therefore becomes mandatory. So now the technical regulations have the product characteristic from the standard and therefore becomes the technical regulation, right? And this is applicable administrative provision, which is now mandatory. Now, what is a conformity assessment procedures? What are these conformity assessment procedures? This is any procedure used by a conformity assessment body to determine that relevant requirements in a technical regulation or standards are fulfilled. So when you spoke about conformity assessment procedures, is that it's a procedure used by a conformity assessment body, such as the NSI. And there, on our first slide, We had testing, we had inspection, we have certification, and we have calibration services. Now these are conformity assessment procedure that indicates or that describe that a certain technical requirements are met as per the technical regulation or as per the standard. So you need to fulfill the requirements in the standard or in the technical regulation for you to fulfill those requirements, and you need to confirm, and that is affirmed by the conformity assessment body. So typically, conformity assessment procedure include testing. I've just mentioned that, and that it's actually done to build public confidence. You need to fulfill the requirements, right? So it gives you, and then it gives you what? That your product is conforming to a standard or technical regulation requirements, and that your product is safe for consumption, it's safe for plant environment, that people will not get sick when they are consuming that, and it builds confidence that the next person using your product will not bring any harm to them, right? And it also differentiates you from your other players because you are conforming to a standard requirement. It builds confidence to those that are using it. There is trust and it's safe for use. And you as a manufacturer, producer, it also gives you assurance that you are fulfilling the requirements of your technical regulation or the standards. And what I've mentioned before is that the MSI conformity assessment bodies, we have a certification body, we have metrology, and we have a testing and inspection body. Now, how are all these things connected? We spoke about standard, we spoke about conformity assessment procedures, we spoke about technical regulation. Now, how do those two connect? How do those three, connect? Where is the interlink? So now today in Ketman Soap, let's come up with a company, right? So let's come up with a company, and then we describe, when we explain how the standard conformity assessment procedure and technical regulations connect. We have a grape producers here, right? So now let's say our company is Ket's Grape CC, right? Now what we do, we produce grapes. We produce grapes, right? Now, we want to see how the standard technical regulation and conformity assessment procedures connect. All right, now we are in the production of grapes. We now need some sort of assurance, we need guidance. We know how to produce our grapes, but we don't have anything documented. It's a requirement or a guideline that we use every day. We know that when you come in, you do this, you do that, what? But we don't have anything. Now we approach the NSI. We approach the NSI and say, no, we are a grape producer, and we want a standard. We want a formal guideline or formal standardization document or way on how we grow our grape. Now the NSI form a technical committee, and then they invite other stakeholders that are related to that or experts in the production of grape. We sit in a technical committee with the regulators for grape, with other manufacturers and producers of grape, and then we reach consensus on the requirement or the guidelines on how we grow grapes. Now we come up with a formal document and we will name it Grapes NAM 001 Grapes Production, something like that, right? Or marketing and sales of grapes, or grapes production, something. We'll know the right words. Now we have a document, we have a standards for grape. All right. Now we notice that when we grow those grapes, now we have other people doing just whatever. They're not following the procedures. Now that the grapes they are probably growing are not, they are causing harm to people, they're not fresh and all those things, it's not the right size and all those things, right? So now we approach the regulatory authority and then we air our concerns. And then they say, then within their discussions we recommend for regulation on the production of grapes. Right? So now they take the standard, they refer that in the regulation, and then now we have a technical, because it has a technical layout of our standards, now we have a technical regulation. Now it's mandatory. Previously it was just a standard. Anybody who wants to use it can use it. Who doesn't want, right? Now it's a regulation. It's a technical regulation because now the standard was referred to in that law and now it's a technical regulation. It's compulsory. Everyone that export, import, produce grapes should comply to that technical regulation. Now there's a compliance issue. Now you need to conform to what? To that technical regulation. And what is referred to in that technical regulation? The standard. Right? Correct. So now, your product or the grapes will have to conform to these assessment procedures. What were those assessment procedures? Testing. What are those assessments? Now it needs to be assessed. We need to test.
You need to first inspect.
Exactly. Yeah? We need to inspect. We now need to inspect probably the factory. Right? Yeah. We need to inspect we need to test the grape. Is it the taste, the size, when you package them. Now this gentleman will come through. You're laboring because there's a regulation, and you need to comply to those assessment procedures. You need to conform. It's just conformity assessment procedures. The processes used by conformity assessment body to ensure that your product is fulfilling what? Is fulfilling the technical regulation, right? So now, your conformity assessment procedures comes in. We need to make sure that your grapes are conforming to the assessments. Can either be labeling, which is metrology, your weighing machine, when you weigh your consignment, is it calibrated, right? So all those things, you need to conform. We need to test the grapes. We need to inspect your factory. And we need to give you a certification if you pass, to ensure that you are fulfilling the requirement of those. And then once that you fulfill the requirement, it now goes comfortably to the market with confidence from you that you are indeed producing your product fulfilling its requirement or a technical requirement or standard requirement. Did we get that? Right. How does the TBT measure affect trade? Remember, we spoke about technical regulations, right? Now, how does TBT measures affect trade? A technical barrier to trade is any regulation I spoke about, any standard, or any conformity assessment procedure that hinders trade of goods between countries. We give an example of technical regulation, which is the cement. Now, as I gave an example of grape, the cement is a regulated product, and we were given the mandate. NSI was given, because NSI is not a regulatory authority, right? But it can seek to get a mandate to regulate. And that's the reason why we are regulating cement, we are regulating hand sanitizer, and we are the inspection testing body for fish and fishery product. I'm not sure if bottled water is not done yet, but there are other products that we seek mandate to regulate. So cement is one of the products that NSI is regulating because we got the mandate from the Ministry of Trade. Right. Now, I actually wanted to know if you think of any regulation that is a barrier at the moment. We can let's think about it and then we can discuss it later. Do you can think of a regulation that is a technical barrier for you to trade? Let's think about it, then we can discuss it at the end of the presentation. This is actually just what I spoke about, that the TBT agreement should be non-discriminatory, transparency provision, and then we spoke about that it takes account, or it actually improve the use of international standards, and that we should be transparent. I think I have come to the end of part 1 of the presentation, just part 1. Is there any question on what I would have presented? Any question? Inputs? Yes.
Thank you so much. First of all, let me begin by saying or acknowledging that I actually have a little or of no knowledge how this standard thing works and so forth. So please pardon my questions. I just want to understand a little bit because it's on the issue of the word non-discriminatory and so forth. And we spoke about the issue, to be specific, the tire issues. Okay. In my understanding, which you will correct me, is that these standards, they are set, right? So for a product to reach the market, it should be able to meet the standard before it's released or it's allowed to meet the market, to reach the market. And then we still receive products which I would say expired product, because the tire is a product, reaching our market. Now my question is, how did it exit where it's coming from? That's the first question. Because if it has to meet a certain standard before it go out, and then there's the second part of that same question is, how did it arrive to us? How did you receive it?
Very good question. I'm going back again, that the NSI is not a regulatory authority unless mandated to by a regulatory body. Having said that, the tires, we are on the issue of the tires. How did it get to, how does it come in the country? If we spoke about the standard that the product should meet a certain requirement, yeah, and that that's non-discriminatory. All right. I'll first touch on that the NSI is not a regulatory authority, as Ms. Dina was talking about, that they are different regulatory authorities that have to ensure that their products are regulated and the conformity assessment procedures are done. And those conformity assessment procedures can either be done by the NSI or the regulatory authority, depending on resources. The tires are regulated by Ministry of Works, and they will be the right office to answer to our question, as in why do we get used tires in Namibia. The other question is on non-discriminatory as part of the TPT agreement. That basically means if you have a regulation, if you administer or implement a regulation in Namibia, the same treatment you are giving to your companies or stakeholders in Namibia should be the same treatment you are giving to the organization or the companies importing their products into your country. Right? The regulation that we spoke about of cement, the conformity assessment procedures subjected to the cement in the country should be exactly the same as when the product is imported. So if there is a regulation or a standard which should be complied to, it should be the same for both in organization and out. So they should all comply to one technical regulation or one requirement. And that's now the issue of non-discrimination. That we shouldn't have linear or easier requirements for organizations inside the country and have a heavier one for the organizations that are importing their products. So it should be fair and it should not be discriminatory. I would like to give it to Mr. Afriko. I think you want to expand on the tires.
I would like to expand on that because colleagues, in the process of implementing the National Quality Policy, mind you, this document of National Quality Policy has been approved. There was the old one of 1999. Now it was approved in 2020 by the Cabinet. Now, having this document, as I have alluded earlier, this document, we need our collective, or in totality, we need our collective effort to ensure that the quality aspect is being taken care of. Within that quality policy document, we have a committee which is dedicated for the developing the document called National Standardization Strategy to establish the standard needs of the country. Secondly, there is a subcommittee on technical regulatory framework. What does that mean? It means that committee is responsible to ensure that we get to the focal points where the policy making is being done, to ensure that we have all the laws and we have all the standards. Right to the first subcommittee is on the standard needs. Then now we go to the next one, which is subcommittee on the laws, to ensure what are the laws that are in existence, and what are the laws that need to be developed in future. Then thirdly, we have the quality assurance committee or subcommittee to ensure that even the laboratory infrastructure in the country is being taken care of. So we need to look at those subcommittees. Now the question of why the tires are coming in, those that are substandard tires, to say, is our responsibility as we are implementing the national quality policy. I have said all those three subcommittees to ensure that we speak out, as we are now speaking here, we speak out to say this standard needs to be in place, this standard needs to be in place, because there is a problem here and there. So those tires are coming in, probably the regulator is not doing what they were supposed to do, I do not know, but it's something that us, all of us, we need to speak out. But as far as I know, there are no standards for those the tires, second-hand tires. So hence, it's up to you now to decide or to put your request through to regulators of what needs to be done. It's our responsibilities. It's not NSI responsibility, as Lakia has indicated, but it's in totality all of us.
Sorry, I was sitting outside but I was listening here. On the issue of the second-hand tires, one professor taught me to say, you cannot say something is substandard if you don't have a standard to compare it with. Yes, one professor told me so. And then secondly, if we are saying the second-hand tires, they are of winter, they are types of, what is it? Winter types and summer types and so forth, and they have expired. Of late in 2022, I think it was around September, the ministry have launched a policy called Consumer Protection Policy. And we have the Consumer Protection Policy Office under the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, and I'm serving in that particular office. Currently, we are busy with the drafting of the Consumer Protection Law so that we enforce issues related to consumer. However, the issue of the unsafe tires, because we are talking of the safety of consumers, assuming that Dina is the one selling now these tires, there is no limiting factor for Lahia or Mr. Haufiku to draft that particular letter to the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, addressed to the Consumer Protection Office to say, Dina Nashideko Enterprise, she is selling tires expired in 2019. These particular tires are of risk to the buyers. We have a legal team within the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade that does on-site visit, just to verify the fact that the tires that are being sold by Dina, indeed they are expired and they are not safe to the buyers. Sometimes we venture into this type of business, not necessarily we want to be there, but it's the situation which is forcing us to establish those type of businesses. Probably the seller also doesn't know. There is an element of seller education there. If the seller is fully aware, there are mechanisms to be followed to ensure that that particular person sees such type of operation. However, it will end up to the court because we don't have a legal framework to enforce the issue of consumer protection. However, there are other legal framework available to address that particular issue of safety. But to say it's substandard, we don't have a standard, as the colleague said, ne?
Yeah, it's actually something that's been spoken.
Yes.
blending in their language of saying substandard.
Yes.
But what you have said is correct because there is no comparisons on the certain requirements. So substandards language is not in existence. I withdraw.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tashidego. We have, while we continue with the questions, I would actually like to, it's time for our break, but we will continue with the questions. Should you want to stand and grab something at the back, kindly do so. Moving on to our next question. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, thank you once again. Mine is more of a concern. You mentioned about the trade barriers, and you also stated that we shouldn't be discriminatory in terms of trade, the products, the standards and stuff like that. So hence, you also know that for Namibia, we are literally still at the infant stage in terms of manufacturing. So if you say that we should not be harsh with the products that are coming in compared to our domestic products in terms of standards, specifications, and so forth, that is truly, I don't agree with that. You understand? Because in each and every nation, economic growth depends on manufacturing. Manufacturing to create jobs, create opportunities for our people. So we have to protect our little small businesses at all means, basically.
Yes, you are very, very right. What the agreement says is that it should be non-discriminatory. The requirements you are setting as a country should be treated fairly for those countries that want to trade with you and for your manufacturer and producers within the country. However, as part of the agreement, you as a member have remedies, part of the agreement, when you want to protect your infant industry. And that's why you have noticed that Agronomic Board, for example, they do what it's called, what is that term?
The quota. There's a quota.
They do quota they do quota, it's called restriction, trade restriction. It's called trade restriction, where they have a period to say, from this period to this period, I'm only allowing a certain quantity of potatoes in the country because I have enough in the country. But that does not mean that the potatoes coming in is not complying to the requirement of Namibia. So the potato coming in should still comply to the requirement of the standard or the set technical regulation. What you do is remedies. The agreement allows you to protect your infant by introducing remedies. However, the treatment for your infant should be similar to the ones that are coming in, to the products that are coming in. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? What I'm saying is, you do bottled water. Right. Now, there is a standard, there's a technical regulation for your bottled water that you comply with, that Namibia said. So, you as a Namibian should comply to that bottled water technical regulation.
Yeah.
Every organization coming in to sell bottled water should also comply to that specific technical regulation. But then, because Namibia want to protect you as an infant industry in Namibia, what they do is they set, they do restrictions. that from August 2023 to December 2023, I will ban all the imports of bottled water, allowing you to sell your bottled water in that, but you are still required to comply with the regulation.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? If there isn't any question, may we kindly please enjoy our breakfast. May we kindly come back at 11:40. Thank you very much.
All the following